Here we are.
Woo!
Welcome once again to Pandora's Box. Thanks for being with us today.
Pandora's Box.
Being with us in any kind of way that you feel like. Just nice to have you here. Just nice to have you here with us. Over here with Drew.
What's up? What's up? There I am.
Over here with Bullwinkle.
What's up? What's up?
Over here with me. What's up? What's up? And over here with you.
What's up? What's up?
You are listening to Pandora's Box on Aspen Waite Radio. Probably, maybe, potentially. You might also be listening to us on YouTube or Spotify. Whichever way you're listening to us, appreciate it if you give us a like and a subscribe.
Yeah, and a hug.
And a hug and a share and that, all
Maybe
that good stuff.
Well.
I never say that. Do you know what I mean? I never say that sort of thing, but then like all the other people out there say it. So I thought I say it because like sometimes
Don't forget to smash that like button and hit the subscribe.
ring the little bell.
Notifications on.
Ding 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 ding. Ring the little bell.
I
Give
always
us a
think
little
that,
like.
yeah, I know
You know what I mean?
you can see when people do videos, they've got it down. They've got that
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
script
That
part
little
of how they do it.
script.
Yeah.
Welcome
Yeah.
back to the channel.
Yeah, and please don't forget to like and subscribe and
Yeah,
share.
if you like this content, please don't forget.
Yeah, but you know, I mean, in all seriousness though, yeah, we would just appreciate it. You know, just help
hit
us
that
get our name out
subscribe
there.
button.
You know,
Hit that like button.
Oh, yeah.
if you believe it in the box.
I actually thought it doesn't really work when people say that as well. But then, like, I've noticed myself
Yes,
a couple
me too.
of times
Me too.
doing it recently where I do it and then they say it
Because-
and I just do it. I'm like, yeah, I like this guy. I'm
Yeah,
gonna
but
like
it's
his
guilty if you
the
don't,
thing.
though.
If you like them, then it's like because it's not like you're not liking because you don't want to like it, but it's because you just don't think of it. You're just listening to it. But then, like, actually, if it's
when you get a little reminder,
if it's helping them
like-
out, it doesn't really. It's not that hard actually.
No.
Just quickly give it a like,
I
is it?
always
And
do,
subscribe. Yeah. So we would appreciate it. Thanks very much. We love you, all of you.
Yeah.
What played us in today was the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom track. Have you guys watched Indiana Jones movies?
years ago.
Have you seen
Little
them?
bits of them.
Man.
I played the Lego game.
Right. That's not the same thing, Bullwinkle. Come
A
on.
little bit.
Yeah, if you go to primary school.
I probably was in primary school at the time, to be fair.
But right, you two both have to watch especially the first two are so good. No,
I've
sorry,
seen
the
the
first
Crystal Skull
three.
one. I've
Yeah,
seen.
that's the worst one.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
new.
That's the
right.
worst one. Yeah. The first one and the third one are so good.
What's the one when he gets chased by the boulder? Is that Temple of Doom?
I think that's the first one. I'm not. It might be the Temple of Doom. Might be the beginning of Temple of Doom.
Right.
When he's like in some. Yeah, I think it's like some little Aztec temple or something.
Yeah, and I remember the things firing out the wall like little.
Yeah, but honestly, the first one, the Lost Ark, and also the third one, the Holy Grail. Oh, so
Nice.
good. The Temple of Doom is pretty good. It's good as well.
Cool.
But short round.
Indy.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just great movies. I think they're sort of movies that anybody would like. You know?
Yeah.
So if you listening out there and you haven't watched Indiana Jones movies, honestly, do yourself a favour, watch them. They are some of the best movies of all times, and it's not like a specific genre, if you know what I mean. Like I think you could be anybody, and you could be a 6-year-old, a 6-year-old. That's a demonic girl, a demonic 6-year-old girl, or you could be like a 50-year-old librarian male, or you could be like a 25-year-old rock star, and all three people would enjoy that track.
Nice.
Track movies. So yeah, guys, how's it going?
Pretty
You
good.
guys been to some festivals, haven't you?
Yeah, man.
Yours one sounded a little bit poo, Drew.
Yeah, I didn't enjoy my experience so much. No, I went to Outlook Festival in the UK this past weekend, and I've heard of Outlook before, and it's normally in Croatia, and it sounds beautiful by a lake, and you can swim in the river and all that stuff. This place was like in a beautiful location. It was on like a manor. It was almost like Downton Abbey kind of style manor, and with like a massive like lake as well, but you couldn't go anywhere near it. It was all cordoned off, and it's a beautiful place. But yeah, it was just a lot of DJs, a lot of cool sound systems. To be fair, like I did really enjoy some of the sound systems, like the bass bins and all that. But yeah, it's just not. I'm a more live music kind of person.
Yeah,
you know?
man.
Like
Definitely.
yeah, and it was a bit of a drug fest as well, so I wasn't so much into that.
Those gurners.
I've got a bit of a story for you guys.
Tell us.
This week could be very different. I could not be here.
You almost died?
I almost died.
Did
I've
you?
got a story for you. ladies and gents.
Oh no,
But I'll break it down right from the start. So we go over to London. I go over to Wireless Festival with my friend and my friend's girlfriend, who is also my friend. I feel like I should say that.
Yeah.
And yeah, a lot of fun. A lot of fun. We're staying in this place in Croydon, which is like South London.
Yep.
So like quite far south, I'd say.
Geezers.
And the first night I got very drunk, very drunk as it went. I think so. I had some rum before, got there, and then I decided, you know what, I'm gonna down 5 ciders.
Right.
So I downed 5 ciders, and it kind of went downhill from then.
Right.
And I've only got flashes in my memory from this night. Only got flashes.
One of those.
The first being on a train. Actually, well, I feel like I should say this. So I'm with my friends, and one of them, I think my friend gives his phone to his girlfriend. Right. And I go, you know what? Here's my phone.
Right.
Not for any smart reason. just hand over my phone. So I'm just left with my wallet on me, no phone, no way of contacting people, right? So that'll be important in the story. I think I lose them during the headline act, right? And I go, oh, where's my friends? So I must have left early to go find them. And I end up on a train, the complete wrong direction, out of London. I have only flashes in my memory. So the first flash in my memory, I was on a train and I threw up on the train. And then I think it went black for about 2 hours. And then some taxi driver was trying to fight me in the middle of London or something. I don't know why. I think I was trying to explain to him that I had to get home. I was like, Croydon, how do I get back to Croydon? And he was going, you're messing around with me? And I was like, oh no, this isn't good. And just be like, no. But obviously I could barely speak at this point as well.
Like I was like, you messing with me? You messing with me, boy?
Don't forget,
you
like I say,
me, Croydon.
Oi, Croydon.
Don't forget. So I've
Pick
got,
with the
I've
wrong
got
guy,
no
Croydon.
phone as well, right? So I'm just wandering the streets at this point,
Like,
trying to
sounds
figure
like
out
me in
where I
Prague
am.
when
Yeah, man. Yeah, it does a bit, doesn't it?
Out of the complete chance of finding a good Samaritan who brought me back to his home at 2 a.m. after he found me just wandering around.
You are kidding me.
No, brought me back to his home.
What?
He put on a Tiny Desk concert and I was just sat there chatting with him. And then he booked me an Uber. I was 4.5 hours from my hotel.
Guy. You were 4.5 hours from the hotel?
4.5 hour walk from my hotel.
Oh, walk?
Yeah, so it was about an hour drive from my hotel. And and somehow I managed to get back to my hotel, got home. My friend's already given my phone to the actual people at the till. So I arrived there like, oh, that's the guy. Give me my phone. Lord. I managed to pay check-in and everything for my hotel, and I was fine. But that's my story. From
what time did you get to the hotel?
Of my first festival. I reckon it was about 2 a.m. Probably.
Oh, so not too bad.
No. But if I hadn't found that guy, God knows where I would be now.
Do you know what his name was?
Yes. Let me find out.
Give him a little shout out.
Let me find out, because this man saved my life.
Yeah, but you'd still just be wandering the streets of
exactly.
Croydon. Not even Croydon. You were trying to get back to Croydon.
I'd be up in Birmingham or something by now. God knows. Ziad was his name. Ziad. So Ziad,
you are a friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod. We love you.
Yeah, well done on saving Bullwinkle's life.
What a good Samaritan.
Yeah, you're a good man.
Like it.
You're a good man.
But yeah, that was my first night at my first festival. The other 2 days weren't as eventful. We just kind of went. I didn't get as drunk, and I just sort of enjoyed the time with my friends.
Nice.
So chilled out a little bit after that.
Yeah, it was still a lot of fun, but really fun time, to be fair.
So you were staying in a hotel at the festival? It wasn't like camping and stuff?
No. So yeah, it was the sort of festival where there was no camping, so it all closed at about 10.
Okay.
And they just sort of kick you out at 10, and everyone just sort of, pretty much everyone was staying in Croydon. Because I got to Croydon, the streets were just like roaming with people going back to their hotel and everything. So we met a few people from like around here, met a few people up from Scotland and stuff. It's quite cool. That's
pretty cool, man. Sounds like a gay old time. Sounds like a gay old time.
Nice.
Should we spit out some quick fire facts?
Oh yeah.
Quick fire facts.
I missed those quick fire facts, man.
Yeah, man. A couple now. Couple later.
Spreading them out.
Did you guys know that in 1971, Fleetwood Mac had to cancel a sold-out show booked at the Whiskey A Go-Go, which was really famous because that's where like the Ramones and stuff were sort of made their name.
Is that in Hollywood?
I want to say it's East Coast America.
Yeah,
do you know, Drew?
I
want to say it's more East Coast,
before,
like almost like New York or like somewhere like New York or Washington, something like that.
Right.
Anyway, so they had to cancel a sold-out show at the Whiskey A Go-Go when their guitarist Jeremy Spencer simply vanished into thin air. This is the original incarnation of Fleetwood Mac. So this is back when like Peter Green was the lead singer and they were like rocky blues band. Yeah, so the guitarist Jeremy Spencer simply vanished into thin air. He was eventually found with all of his hair cut off and dressed in shabby clothes. They found out afterwards that he had left to join a cult called the Children of God, which was a crazy freaking cult in America where you have to wear all these weird robes and shave your hair to enter them, and he just like left and there were just loads of weird like drug-fueled orgies going on in this weird cult and that. And he just didn't tell anybody. He was just there 1 minute and then he just left.
Oh my God.
That is proper crazy, isn't
I
it?
did find that as well. It is in Hollywood.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
do
the reason
apologise.
I knew is because we went
Oh,
there. We went there when I went to
really?
LA, but it was closed. But
nice one, Bullwinkle.
Anyway.
Good. Nice one, dude. This is quite like a funny one. Former Prime Minister of Australia, Bob Hawke, g'day mate, had a serious accident at the age of 17. This near-death experience, a bit like Bullwinkle's, acted as his catharsis, driving him to make the most of his talents and not let his abilities go to waste. After serving his term as Prime Minister of Australia, he went on to accomplish what he considers the best accomplishment of his life, which is setting a Guinness World Record for drinking 1.4 litres of beer in just 11 seconds.
Oh my God.
I love that that's like the thing he's most proud of.
Yeah.
He was like the Prime Minister of a country, but he's like, I down freaking 1.4 litre of beer in 11 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
Bob Hawke, you're a friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
There was a man called Jason Vukovich, who was nicknamed the Alaskan Avenger, after he was convicted of using the state's sex offenders registry to track down offenders, break into their homes, and beat them to death with hammers.
Damn.
So he was like, don't go offending anybody around old Jace, all right, because he will kill you with a hammer. This is quite a nice one. I think, Dolly Parton's one of those sort of people, you never really hear anything bad about Dolly Parton. In 1990, the high school dropout rate in Sevierville, Dolly Parton's hometown, was over 30%. So in 1991, she launched the Buddy program, offering 7th and 8th graders $500 if they graduated. This incentive caused the dropout rate for those classes to go all the way down to 6%, and the city has generally retained that average to this day.
Whoa, nice one, Dolly.
Due to, Dolly Parton, offering that $500 just for 7th and 8th graders, it's gone from 30% dropout rate all the way down to 6th. And maintain
Money talks, baby.
Incentive. Incentive is so important in life, in everything you do. If you can't just expect people to do stuff for no incentive, There's a fungus called Ophiocordyceps unilateralis, which we commonly call the zombie fungus, that controls ants by infecting but it doesn't control ants by infecting their brains. It actually controls them by destroying their motor neurons and connecting directly to the muscles that control them. So the ants actually have full knowledge of what's going on in their brain, but they basically become prisoners inside their own body. How dark is that? So they're like,
horrifying.
Can you imagine if like your body was just doing loads of stuff you didn't want it to do, and you were just like locked in your brain? Just
so like the fungus is controlling what the body's doing. It's
it basically
go for a ride.
It destroys the motor neurons and essentially takes over almost like the nervous system, I guess. So it has complete function of the body,
crazy.
but like the ant's brain is still completely the ant's brain, which I just thought was quite creepy.
That's like an episode of Black Mirror, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know.
Well, like every episode in Black Mirror, they end up getting like controlled by something.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
This is quite like a nice one. This is like another nice celebrity thing. George Clooney once gave 14 of his closest friends $1 million each in cash, and even paid the taxes on it, on one condition. That they all had to take it or none of them would get it, because he wanted to make sure that all of his friends would be sorted for the rest of their days, and he didn't want anybody to be like, oh no we can't take that. So he knew that if he put in that little thing, then everyone would take it. Isn't that nice?
That's sound, isn't it?
That's really nice of George Clooney, isn't it? I guess, if you've got like 80 mil in the bank,
you're like,
you can't spend all that in one lifetime. Well, maybe you could, but only if you were like ridiculous. Only if you were like Mike Tyson and do you know what I mean? Some of buying like albino tigers and stuff.
I always like the story of Adam Sandler and his friends. Have you heard about this?
No.
Because his, like the place that he makes movies, what's it called? Like Happy Madison Pictures or something like that. All of his movies come from. But it's his own production company.
All right.
But what he does is he's hired every single one of his friends, and like each movie he'll just give one of his friends like pretty much a leading role, or not a leading role, but a supporting role with him.
Right.
So like his cast will all just be like his mates in all his movies. And he just pays them like loads for it and stuff.
Oh wow.
It's pretty awesome.
That is pretty cool. That's pretty cool. This is a pretty bit of a nuts one, but it's actually like I'm not too surprised once I heard of it. Obviously we all know the company Samsung. I mean, I've got a Samsung phone right here. I've got a Samsung television at home. Did you know that relative to pretty much everything else in South Korea, Samsung is Samsung is a South Korean brand. It's such a massive company that it accounts for 15% of the entire of South Korea's economy. And South Koreans often live in Samsung-owned apartment buildings, can get treatment from Samsung-owned medical centres, go to Samsung universities, and even end up at a Samsung funeral parlour when they die. That's how massive Samsung is in South Korea. It pretty much just owns half South Korea.
Because South Korea is quite small, isn't it?
Yeah, relatively. Relatively, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be cool if they could end up owning pretty much like over 50% and then pretty much just own the country.
They say that like Samsung phones and that aren't as corrupt as iPhones, aren't they? Just in terms of the fact that like they don't monitor quite as much information as say like Apple phones do. Because most people are like, I'm not really that bothered. I guess it's like at the end of the day, it's probably not much in it. But I think like, a lot of people I think consider that like iPhones are actually technically the best. They might technically be the best, but they are also like, they're the ones that are most shady with information. Apparently literally like anything you do on like an iPhone could be like recorded at any time.
Get in the back door.
Yeah. Whereas apparently it's like, it is a bit like that with like Samsung phones and other phones, but just not as much, not as bad, It's just a bit creepy, isn't it, that we're all monitored that much.
Digital age.
When his 8 years as President of the United States ended on January the 20th, 1953, Harry Truman, who was the president that took over after... I'm having a brain fart now. The guy that was in the wheelchair during the Second World War. He's considered one of the best presidents in American history.
Not Roosevelt?
Yes, President Roosevelt. Teddy Roosevelt, that's it. Yeah. So Harry Truman took over after him. When he ended his presidential reign, he took the train home to Independence, Missouri, and just mingled casually with other passengers along the way. He had no Secret Service protection and lived the rest of his days out humbly on just his army pension and nothing more, and accepted no more from the state because he just wanted to serve the country and never just a normal guy. But I love the idea that he literally served his last day and then just left. No more Secret Service, no like limos or anything, just left. He caught the train and just caught the train home like a normal guy, just chatted to people on the train and then just lived the rest of his days out with his military pension.
Yeah, that's cool, isn't it?
That's how it should be, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's how it should be, At the end of the day, you're a public servant, aren't you? You're a public servant if you're working for the government and stuff. This is quite a cool one. Just like quite like a funny one. You can see obviously how it would work. There's a Kiwi man named Nigel Richards who memorised every word in the French dictionary to go on to become the French Scrabble champion of the world. But he doesn't speak any French. So he's memorised every single French word in his head, but he doesn't know how to speak it. That is
mad.
Doesn't know what any of them mean. He doesn't know what any of the words mean. He just memorises it. Because to play Scrabble, you wouldn't need to know what it means. You would just need to have your letters and be like, I can make a fat word out of this.
These collections of words. That's hilarious.
That's pretty cool, isn't it? That's pretty cool. This is quite like a funny one as well. There's a man called Donnie Dunagan, who is a retired United States Marine Corps drill instructor. And old Donnie boy managed to keep a secret throughout his entire life. This was that he was secretly the voice actor for Bambi in the Disney movie Bambi. But he wanted to keep it a secret, because obviously, he was a freaking United States Marine Corps drill instructor, which is like one of the most masculine jobs you can have. God. But literally, so he didn't want the world to know that he was responsible for like being like, here's my mum.
I wonder how the hell he landed that job, man.
Yeah,
that's
random,
crazy.
Yeah. I guess maybe, I don't know, did he like go and audition for it and he just won it or something? Yeah. That's crazy, isn't it? That is crazy. There's an octopus called Otto that caused an aquarium power outage by climbing to the edge of his tank and shooting a jet of water at a bright light that was annoying him. He was also seen juggling hermit crabs, throwing rocks at the glass and rearranging his tank surroundings during his like time in the aquarium. Octopuses are so cool, man, aren't they? They are so cool. They're so badass.
So intelligent.
This one's quite a good one. You know that 80% of toilets in Hong Kong City are flushed with seawater rather than fresh water in order to conserve the city's scarce water resources. Makes sense?
Yeah.
I don't really know why you wouldn't do that more. Why don't we do that?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because I don't really like the thought that like your water that's gone through all the drainage and then it's just like recycled back round natural and could become like drinking water. Like, it's not very nice, really, is it?
I just think, because salt's a very purifying thing anyway, isn't it? That's why salt water, like the sea, is so clean and everything, regardless of the fact that there's like so many animals just going to the toilet in it all the time and like dead animals in it and that. But you'd think it would almost like make more sense for that reason as well. Do you know what I mean? Like clearing away waste products and almost like would like clean out your toilet from inside and that. I can imagine.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they're one of the things they use, don't they? It's like an old-fashioned thing to clean, but it's still really tried and true is salt. If you get like a stain or something, you rub salt into it, don't you? Water.
Would it rust? Am I right in saying like salt water rusts metal quite a lot? I guess.
I know that water rusts. I don't know if salt water rusts worse than fresh water.
Right.
Look it up. Does salt water rust worse than fresh water? Because I literally do not know the answer to that, young man. While you're looking that up, I'm going to say another quick fire fact. Did you know that tigers have been shown to have the ability to take vengeance? They will remember people that have wronged them and then actively try and take vengeance upon them.
Fair enough.
So, fair enough.
What have you got to do to wrong one?
Well, I guess if you're like cruel to one, if you got one in captivity and you like throw stuff at it, or you like mistreat it, you're just like unpleasant in general, it'll almost like remember that, and then if it ever gets a chance to murk you, to kill you, it will, I guess.
It's not something you want having as your enemy, is it?
No, man. I wouldn't ever want to just randomly be unpleasant to a tiger, really. I'd just be like, man, that's a cool beast. That's a cool beast.
Salt, or more specifically, salt solution, can speed up the rusting process.
Oh, it can.
Mainly because it acts as an electrolyte. Basically,
Wow.
Speed rusts a little bit quicker.
I think this is like a cool fact. It's just like, see, I remember these sort of days, Drew, when you'd have to like buy like a. I remember having like a friend in primary school that had like a magazine, say, with like games cheats in. My friend, I had a friend called Ben Kellaway who had like a little who'd buy always like, he was more into his computer games than me, and he would like buy like a Nintendo magazine or something like that, and then it would have like cheat codes in and stuff. But before the internet, Nintendo had what they called games counselors, who were employed. That was a specific job employed by Nintendo, and their sole job was to be on the other end of telephones, so that people could call them up if they were stuck in a game and physically couldn't progress in the game. So you would ring up the Nintendo game counselor, and the game counselor on the other end of the phone would talk you through how to get through that level. That's
amazing.
Awesome.
I can remember like being like a little kid though, like before the internet. I remember just being stuck on levels for like freaking ages. Man. It was like really frustrating. But nowadays you would just literally Google, how do I do this, or whatever, and then it would just, and you'd be like, oh yeah. See, everything seems simple when you know it, doesn't it? This is quite a cool one. When Germany surrendered at the end of World War II, huge celebrations broke out on the streets of London. Princess Elizabeth, now obviously Queen Elizabeth II, and her sister secretly left Buckingham Palace to join the crowd outside. They spent the whole night partying with just regular members of the public, and to this day Queen Elizabeth describes it as one of the most memorable nights of her life.
Oh,
nice.
That's nice.
That must have been mental for her. Imagine growing up literally as that, like, in all these palaces with like guards, and like the what are they called? With the big hats and everything.
Yeah.
What are they called?
Red coats. No, not red coats.
Yeah, well, they sort of are red coats, but they've got a name, haven't they? Like,
it's like Royal Guard.
Not
Royal
beefeaters.
Brigadiers. No,
they've got like the big hats, haven't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, they're like the palace guards. Anyway, like, you think you got them like protecting you 24/7 and everything like that, and then the next thing you know, you're just full on partying with just like somebody that like works down at like a factory or something.
It must be so refreshing
Yeah.
Like, that must have been such a refreshing day to actually feel a bit normal.
Yeah, man.
Oh, definitely. I've got one more, and then we'll listen to a track. This is a really cool one, though. In 1724, Margaret Dixon was hanged, but later found still alive. She was then allowed to go free because under Scottish law, her punishment had been carried out. There was nothing in writing that said you had to be hanged until dead. It just said you had to be hanged. As she had technically been hanged, she was let to go. After this, the Scottish Parliament changed it into hanged until dead.
Whoa.
So that's quite cool.
I
So
wonder what
Margaret evicted it. Like, I don't know, God knows, man. Maybe she was just like so like light and thin that like it wasn't enough pressure to kill her, or maybe she like passed out and they thought that she looked pretty dead, and then she just barely, I don't know.
Yeah, barely held on.
Yeah. Yeah. Crazy.
Pandora's box is about to open.
Right.
Love
Shout
that.
out to the bearable bull who did that.
Yeah, man. And cheers for Drew to putting that out on our radio show, sorting it out for us. So, welcome back to Pandora's Box, everybody. Do you know a little bit about prairie dogs? Does anybody know about the prairie dog? The majestic prairie dog.
Prairie reminds me of a farm. Prairie farm.
Ah, little dog on the prairie. Well, let me tell you something about the prairie dogs. Did you know that the prairie dog's language is extremely complex?
It's actually an animal called a prairie dog.
Yes, it's like
I've got a photo up now.
Imagine like a hulking...
Ah, like a little chipmunk. That,
Yeah, but bigger.
Yeah.
They don't just... their language is really complex. They don't just have a call for danger, but their calls can differentiate between human, bird, dog, coyote, and specify even size and colour. Studies found that they can communicate like this, for example. Here comes the short human in yellow. They are followed by the tall human in blue.
Whoa, that's pretty complex.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So they could be like, watch out for the short one in yellow, he looks a bit dodgy, but the tall one in blue, he looks alright. Yeah. That's cool, isn't it? I think that one thing that we are finding out more and more as we learn more about animals is that they have far more complex speech, communication in general than we used to think. I think we used to think that like we talk to each other, but everything else is just like.
Yeah.
Whereas I think as time goes on, we're finding out that that's not the case.
There's actually meaning behind their noises. Yeah,
definitely. Did you know that a sloth's claws work in the opposite way a human hand does? If you think about our hand's default position, it's open, and you have to consciously think about closing your fist, whereas a sloth's hand is completely different. Its default position is a tight, strong grip, and sloths must exert effort to open their hands.
That's crazy.
This is an evolutionary benefit because sloths live and sleep in trees. Yeah. So if they didn't have this evolutionary function, when they fell asleep, they would simply just fall out of a tree. But because their default position is to be tight, they're like all night just holding on to the branches. That's quite a cool one.
Yeah.
During the Danish colonization of Greenland, missionary Hans Egede found that local Inuit people had no concept of what bread was. So when they were trying to convert them to Christianity, he changed it in their language to "Give us this day our daily seal." Because it wouldn't have made any sense to them. They didn't have any bread.
Give us this day our daily seal.
I love that for some reason.
Hilarious.
It really makes me laugh. I like that.
That is good. That's a good one.
The man that made the Golden Gate Bridge was called Joseph Strauss. And this seems like a pretty simple idea, but I guess it just never been done before. He mandated that a net be installed under the bridge for safety while being built. This was revolutionary at the time, and it went on to have a massive benefit as 19 men fell while they were constructing the Golden Gate Bridge, and if it wasn't for that net, they would have certainly fell to their death. Ironically, as well, the Golden Gate Bridge is one of like the hot spots of suicide all over the world now. Though.
I was going to say, like, why don't they just keep nets?
Yeah, I was
going
to say, just keep the net.
In some places, don't they?
Do they?
In some, yeah, I know you get to some bridges and they'll have like nets underneath in case you fall or in case anyone jumps off to protect them.
That would almost be a bit sketchy. Imagine if you fell and then even if you got caught by the net. Imagine just being there like that period before you've been rescued and you're just like, oh.
I guess it would get. Yeah, you think that would be like so good, because even if people were that like dedicated to, you know, feel the need to jump off, you might think that in that moment where they're falling before they fall into the net, they might be like, actually, I don't really want to do this.
Apparently, any survivor of suicide that has survived is has pretty much always said that instantly they regret it when they jump. Yeah, like, you know, that there's just instant, like, it's a natural like human thing. Like, no matter what state they were in, as soon as you think it's like this instant regret.
Was it? I think we were talked about one before, maybe even about something that like savagely broke all their bones, but they still regretted it.
Yeah,
they still regretted it.
Yeah.
Lying there like maimed, like, I shouldn't have done that.
Oh, bad idea.
That was definitely a bad idea. No, I'm just still alive, but I'm really effed up. Yeah, that's got to suck. Did you know that J.R.R. Tolkien originally set out to just create the Elvish language? He had no interest in writing a story. But then he figured that his language needed a history, and that the history needed a world. This is why he eventually led... Well, it's eventually what led him to write The Lord of the Rings. He eventually originally just thought it would be fun for him to write Elvish.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
I remember I almost tagged you in something the other day, or I sent it to you, but I didn't. Yeah. But it just reminded me of that. There was like this really like, cool clip of just J.R.R. Tolkien, and he was like on an interview, and it was someone who was in the pub, and it was like, yes, I had often asked this question. I got asked this question by blah, and he said another author's name, and he was like, about why, and he drew this out for ages, and it was about, and he was saying about the eagles. He's like, why the eagles didn't fly, just fly Frodo to Mordor. And I get this question quite often, and I said to that man in the pub what I said to the author. And what I basically said to him was, shut up.
Oh, I love it. I love that it was like really drawn out.
And it was, and then the end, and it was getting closer to the end of the video.
And you think it's going to be this massive thing.
What is he going to say is this thing, and it just ends with, shut up.
I think it's going to be really profound, and then he's just, shut up.
That's hilarious.
Was it C.W. Lewis by any chance, the author he was on about?
Maybe, yeah.
That's the guy that wrote Narnia, and he was sort of like, they were friends, but they almost used to have like bants. Obviously, almost. I mean, but he was like the better writer and stuff like that. I can imagine it was probably C.W. Lewis. That's the guy. Do you remember I told you guys a story before about how like they used to get like wasted together like randomly and stuff like that?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they like when they were in college together, like before they became, you know, distinguished gentlemen. Right? They used to be actually like quite like almost like crazy fellas for the day. You know, like go out doing crazy parties and stuff. Oh, rest in peace, Tolkien. Who doesn't love a bit of Tolkien? Tolkien, you are most definitely, sir, a friend of the pod.
Friend of the pod.
And you bow to no one. There is a man called Casey Kasem, who was the voice of Shaggy on Scooby-Doo. Casey.
No, wrong Shaggy.
It wasn't me. No, you think more like Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
Or whatever, yeah. That's so funny. Casey Kasem is also a vegan and a critic of factory farming. Kasem quit Scooby-Doo when in 1995 he was asked to voice Shaggy for a Burger King commercial. He would not agree to return for 7 years until producers and directors finally agreed to have Shaggy become a vegetarian on the show. Whoa. So they got on a different voice actor, and nobody liked it, and like kids and everyone complained, and the directors and producers hoped that just everyone would like forget about it and everything. But everyone, I think, knows that distinctive Shaggy voice in their head, like. And yeah, this is from that guy Casey Kasem. And they eventually were like, "Oh, okay, fine, we'll make him a vegetarian on the show." And then he was like, "Oh, I'll come back now." That's just pretty funny. That is pretty funny.
Then
isn't it?
Burger King actually brought out a vegan burger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say he made them bring out a vegan burger.
The German Parliament building has a glass dome above it so that people can climb it using a spiral ramp. The dome symbolises that the people are above the government and that the government should be transparent.
That's cool.
I like that.
I like that.
Yeah, quite a nice
really
one, isn't
cool.
it? Quite a nice one. Quite a nice one. This is a bit of a sad one.
Oh, no.
Cigarette butts are environmentally toxic, yet are the most littered item in the entire world. There's a road in Rome called the Appian Way, which was built in 1312 BC. Bless you, sir.
Sorry.
That's you.
It was built in 1312 BC by Appius Claudius Caesar, and it's still in use today.
Nice.
That's cool, isn't it?
Aren't a lot of the English roads based
the
from
A roads.
Roman times?
Yeah, so like most of the A roads are based on like the roads that the Romans built, but this one in the Appian Way is like literally it's exactly the same.
Oh wow!
So obviously our A roads were like they were roads that were made by the Romans, but obviously we've like tarmacked over them and stuff like that. But we still use the same route. Whereas this one is like exactly the same.
That's
like
so
it's
cool.
been untouched. So and it was built in 312 BC.
Whoa.
So
Yeah,
like
it's a
what
long
like
time ago.
2000 like 334 years ago. And it's still just used exactly as it was
Good
then.
going.
Hasn't even like needed maintenance. How
Built
cool
to
is
last.
that? That's an awesome one, isn't it? That's an awesome one. Did you know that Guns N' Roses wrote their most successful tracks with Child of Mine almost as like a little joke in 5 minutes? I think did you say about this before?
Yeah, as a joke. Yeah,
Yeah, it was written in 5 minutes.
and the bridge of that song is literally they were just messing around. And it's like, where do I go now?
Yeah.
Where do we go now? And that was literally like, what do we do now? Like, we wrote the song, like, Yeah.
That's so funny.
That's
And
actually awesome.
when you actually think about it, it actually almost like makes sense, but you don't question it when you listen to the track.
Yeah.
That is actually hilarious. Yeah, apparently like Slash wrote the initial like opening thinking it was just like quite like a funny little thing to play. And initially Axl Rose didn't realise that it was just like a little jokey thing. Apparently he was in the next room at the time, but could hear them all jamming out to this just little thing that Slash had made. So apparently Axl Rose wrote the majority. He like felt super inspired and wrote majority of the lyrics within 5 minutes. Just listening to the thing of like thinking, okay, what's going along with what they're playing right now, and then just went in and jammed it. And they literally, the whole song took 5 minutes.
Oh man,
That's
I
so
love
good.
those ones with like as well, just those flashes of inspiration. Like we recently did a Kate Bush special on your old man's breakfast show, and your mum was in, and she was saying about one of the Kate Bush's songs, and it was this beautiful piano piece, and it literally took her 5 minutes to write as well. It was like this flash of inspiration, and the
Lightning
words
in a
come out.
bottle.
And it's crazy with music how that can work, because like literally you can do something and it will not take very long at all, but it could be like your best works or the thing that stands the test of time, but it just comes out like that.
That reminds me a bit
crazy.
of like MGMT. Have you ever heard this story? Like MGMT, like obviously made like Electric Feel, Kids, loads of other big songs. They just started as like a joke.
Oh really?
They were literally just in college and started as a joke, and now they're like huge.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Crazy. I love that though, when it's like it's so rare to capture lightning in a bottle like that. I do believe in it a lot though. I think that it's like if you drag things out too much, you almost like dull the
You lose
flame.
it.
You dull the flame, and then it's really hard to complete it and do justice to it. But if you like get like, moments of inspiration, that's why you need to like right, quickly record it, quickly write it down. That was The River by Opeth. Opeth, one of our favourite bands here on Pandora's Box. We hope that you're having a good evening, everybody. Thanks for chilling with us this evening. You know what time it is, don't you, everybody?
What's the time, Mr. Wolf?
I've been what's time is I've been enjoying our genitalia facts recently.
Oh,
I always think
nice,
I mean, there's something that we all have, but that we seem to know so little about.
Yeah.
You know, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Although many people with a penis are relatively familiar with its antics, there's more to this appendage than meets the eye. So let's get into it. The first erection. Penises are born ready, and it is common for babies to exit the womb with an erection. Did you know that?
What?
Yeah.
Start as you mean to go on.
Even
Already.
before the moment of birth, ultrasound scans sometimes show a fetus with a fully formed erection.
Whoa.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, that's mental.
Very
Poking its way out of there.
According to a study from 1991, fetal erections most commonly occur during rapid eye movement, otherwise known as REM sleep, and they can happen a number of times each hour. No one is quite sure why, but it might just be the body's way of testing things out and making sure that everything is running correctly.
I always think that, like, when you're sleeping, it's like your body is like recharging and stuff, and it is. It's almost like it does a check. It's like goes through, like, can you get a bonus deal? Your little legs will go in, like, you know, you sweat a bit, like, you know, you might talk in your sleep. You're just testing all your bodily functions.
Mate, that's hilarious. Oh, this one's a funny one. Did you know that penises are actually twice as long as you think they are? Right?
Oh, thank God for that. I knew it was.
Oh, mate.
Deep down.
Yeah, literally. A lot of people might take solace in this fact. Penises are longer than they look. In fact, around half of the entire length of your penis is housed inside of your body. You might be thinking, well, it's no good to me in there. But it needs to remain connected, obviously, to the rest of your anatomy. So it's probably best that it stays put. So it actually goes on twice as long into your abdomen, I guess, right up into your abdomen, and attaches obviously to all of your goliabagads. Yeah, that's a technical term for your it just links up obviously to your balls and everything like that. It all links up to like one big centre where it all, you know.
I've got a weird fact about kind of like penises, but
kind of like penises, but kind of not.
Side.
Oh, yeah, kind of like penises, but vaginas.
Well, I remember like watching this thing, and this woman was talking about her vagina, and saying like how women actually like get erections as well.
Oh yeah,
and like the clitoris.
Oh yeah,
like, and how that's attached, and like you were saying then about like how it's anatomically, it's like anatomically, it's like all connected and everything. If you actually follow like the clitoris like back, and the way it attaches, it's like can get aroused and gets a boner.
Yeah, a little. Yeah, that's why.
Crazy.
Have you not ever, when we've been having one of our many jovial conversations, have ever heard me? I'm very sorry about this, listeners. Refer to a clit boner.
No, I've heard of them.
No, so like I would like say jokingly if a lady looks very excited, you know, just in passing, I would say she's got a clit boner. It's because I was aware of this fact.
Oh, see, I wasn't, and that really impressed me.
For some reason, I feel like if we say it in this voice, it doesn't sound quite so
it's
vulgar.
not as vulgar.
Yes.
X-rated.
Yes, the clitori. It sounds
clitoral erection.
It sounds like a little bit like Latin, and also a little bit like an alien species.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was in the Sagittarius. The clitori. We discovered the life forms in Alpha Clitori. After plunging deep into the dark depths for many years, we found Alpha Clitori. Sorry, ladies.
Swimming the pools of vulva.
Yeah. What the hell? Sorry, ladies. The shoe size myth. Let's lay this one to rest.
Oh.
A 2002 study published in the journal BJU International confirms that there is actually no correlation between shoe size and penis. Penis length, I should say. Just shoe size and penis. Although an older study published in 1993 found that penile length was related to both height and foot length, it was a weak relationship, and the authors concluded that height and foot size would not serve as practical estimators of penis length. A 2006 study published in the International Journal of Impotence Research looked at other correlations. The research concluded that penile dimensions are significantly correlated with age, height, and can sometimes be correlated with index finger length, but not foot size.
Those fingers.
But I mean, that sort of makes sense, I guess. It's like, at the end of the day, if you're like imagine just like a massive creature, it's more likely to have like a big willy than a tiny creature, isn't it? I mean, that just sort of makes sense.
Well, look at like the blue whale.
Yeah.
Blue whale's got the biggest one in the world.
Apparently, it's like the size of a car. The size of like a big car, yeah.
Damn.
I know. That's a big old, and it's and a
And
whale.
it's doubled the length inside as well.
Yeah, and a blue whale's heart weighs as much as an African elephant. Isn't that crazy? They're giant beasts, aren't
Mental.
they? Giant
I thought it was
beasts.
crazy about like dogs. You know, like Great Danes and that, like the massive dogs, like that they actually live less because they are so big.
Yeah.
That
Most
their
animals
hearts
do.
don't like give out. I thought that was a bit crazy.
Yeah,
you
usually
know?
in even like larger humans usually die before smaller humans.
Yeah.
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 I think there's a lot of it's to do with like it depends how much energy your body needs to produce to almost like run the engine.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It always makes me think of like cars. Do you know what I mean? It's like if you get like a nice little 1.6 litre, hasn't got a turbo or like a V6 or a V8 or anything like that. It's like not much can go wrong with it. Do you know what I mean? As long as you make sure you keep topping up the oil every now and again. And like the water and that, it's like it's probably going to keep going for like easily 200,000-300,000 miles. But you have like big cars like massive engines with turbos and all these things. Like there's just far more that can go wrong with it, and it's far more likely to have to be just packed up after 100k. You know, it's just dead after that. No matter how good the mechanic is. Yeah, R.I.P.
The bigger they are, the harder they fall.
That's right. You know, so it's usually and you think about it, it's like even like like a lot of like big athletes and stuff, you know, even if they are like they're healthy and stuff, do you know what I mean? They work out often and stuff like that, then they're much more likely to pass away when they're like 70 rather than like, you know, like a lot of like smaller elderly gentlemen you see just randomly and you're like, how old are you then? And they're like, celebrating my 92nd birthday today. And you're like, oh, good on you, Tim. You know?
Yeah.
Timmy.
Oh, Timmy boy. I guess, as I said, it's just, you know, if you're just like a slender 5'6" gentleman, do you know what I mean?
Best way to be.
There's a lot of like life in you, isn't there? You know, whereas you're not like this giant man. It's just like you can almost like imagine like a big inferno inside them, like a big furnace that constantly needs to like chuck coal into, like the Titanic or something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Whereas old Tim can just run off a piece of coal a day. You know? Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if someone like Nicky C would live a lot longer than me. Do you know what I mean? I just can't imagine that his like life force needs as much like energy to just send that vehicle going. You know,
Scoured.
Yeah, send that vehicle scoured. You know, just doesn't need as much energy to send that vehicle scoured. Yeah, morning wood. Yes,
we all know.
Did you know that most men have 3 to 5 erections every night during sleep, mostly during their REM cycle? This has got a name. It's called nocturnal penile tumescence, and it's still not clear exactly why it happens. One theory...
What's that blowing my back again? I was just like, erectile penile benevolence.
It's my nocturnal penile tumescence. I'm not having dear. Now, please stop interrupting me. One theory is that it might help prevent bedwetting, as erections inhibit urination, and obviously nobody wants to wet the bed. A full bladder is known to stimulate nerves in a similar region to those involved in erections. However, because people with vaginas experience something similar, nocturnal clitoral tumescence, bedwetting prevention is probably not the entire answer. Another potential explanation is that REM sleep is linked with switching off cells that produce noradrenaline in the locus coeruleus, which is in the brain stem. These cells inhibit the tone of your penis. So by reducing the inhibition, the penis then becomes swollen and thence erect. Whatever the reason.
Swollen member.
Whatever the reason between whatever the reasons between the notorious nocturnal erections, they can be useful as a diagnostic tool. For example...
Let me get my diagnostic tool out a second. I'll just see what's wrong with...
Let's see what's wrong with my diagnostic tool. No, this will actually make sense. It actually does make a lot of sense. For example, if a man finds it nigh impossible to get an erection while asleep, but is monitored to get an erection while erection while awake. Did I say awake or asleep? If a man can't get an erection while he's awake, but is shown when he's asleep, it shows that he's got a psychological issue, not a physical one. This is obviously very good in helping doctors treat people that suffer from erectile dysfunction. If it's a mental thing, then they need to see a psychiatrist. If it's a physical thing, they need Viagra.
God, man, you're like my counsellor. I wish I knew about this stuff a few years ago. Seriously, I feel way better about things.
Say if they just for some reason cannot maintain an erection when they're awake, but they can when they're asleep, it's clearly 100% psychological. They've got some sort of issue. They either are like lacking confidence. They do not feel like they are able to please their partner for whatever reason. Don't feel like they're a big enough man. Maybe, I don't know. You know, mentally, not physically, obviously. But yeah, so it's a nice diagnostic tool. Using many tools to diagnose your tool. One final erection. So we've established that erections can occur in the womb before birth and during sleep. But what is perhaps even more surprising is what is known as the death erection.
The God boner.
It's what's known as the God boner. It's also referred to as angel lust.
Oh, there you go, there.
That's a nice name, isn't it? Angel lust.
Or the God boner.
Yeah. So death erections, angel lust, God boners, and also known as terminal erection, which sounds like an 80s action movie, doesn't it? Steven Seagal stars in Terminal Erection.
Oh, man.
And it's quite common for men moments after death to experience massive erections.
After death?
Yeah. So men will literally be like, and then get a massive erection.
People poo themselves after death as well, don't they?
I assume it's not correlated. Imagine that, just like...
Oh, that was so nice.
If there's two things that guys like to do, it's to relieve himself on the throne, and it's
and relieve himself on the bone.
It's to have a guard boner. Yeah, so where were we? Getting back to the scientific literature. Most commonly, angel lust or terminal erections occurs in people who have died from hanging, but it can occur in anybody. The reason it happens a little bit more from deaths by hanging is because the hanging puts pressure from the noose on the cerebellum in your brain, which then causes you to have an erection. However, it has also been reported following many other deaths, so it makes it a little bit more mysterious. They have even been shown after death by gunshot and even poisonings. Another theory is that the erection is caused by the brutal destruction of the cervical cord. But again, this wouldn't make sense for everything. So we don't really know why men get massive erections when they die. We just know that they
die by the boner.
I love the idea of like angel lust or like God boner. The idea that you're going up to heaven and there's just all these like really if you've lived a good life, there's all these glorious just
boobies.
Boobies just everywhere. If you're a bloke. Did you know that your penis can break?
Oh.
There is no bone, of course. There is, of course, no bone in the penis, which is actually fairly unusual for mammals. There's a lot of mammals actually have penile bones. Did you know that?
Did not know that.
And there's a museum in Iceland called a penis museum, and you can go and see lots of bones of
penile bones.
willy bones, essentially willy bones. But yeah, so humans don't obviously have bones in their willies. However, it is still possible to break the penis. This most commonly occurs during extremely vigorous sex, although doctors have also documented it in people who have fallen out of bed with erections, sometimes even while asleep.
Imagine that.
If you land on your penis while it is severely erect at a bad enough angle, you can get what is called a penile fracture.
That penis is severely erect.
You know what I'm talking about when you're like, you couldn't possibly get more erect. Because let's face it, there's a spectrum. There's a spectrum from like fully, like ice bath right up to like swollen mama. Swollen mama being a 10 out of 10, ice bath being like maybe even a 0 out of 10.
It's 2.
Yeah. So the penile fracture, as it is known, is actually caused by the rupture of the fibrous covering of the corpora cavernosa, which is the scientific name for the tissue that becomes erect when engorged with blood. So yeah, it's such hard tissue, the corpora cavernosa, that you can rupture the fibres in them, and it can cause your penis to break. If this happens bad enough, you will never get an erection again.
Oh no!
I know it's bad, isn't it? It will literally completely break your penis. Your penis. Your penis. The moment of fracture is accompanied usually by a cracking sound, and then intense pain, swelling, and unsurprisingly, flaccidity.
Have people died from that?
No.
You don't reckon?
My penis is broken! And then ironically you get a massive boner.
Yeah.
Right afterwards.
False alarm.
False alarm! Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Back alive again.
People do die from shock, from pain, don't they?
Oh, you can die of shock.
I
yeah,
imagine
I'd
that
say
would be
from
so
shock, yeah.
extremely painful.
But I think usually people die of shock, not always, but it's usually from severe injury or fear. Don't get me wrong, like it is a severe injury, but
pretty terrifying.
But it's not as bad as like say if you were like blown in half. Imagine like the terror of like that combined with the physical injury, and then you're looking down, you're like, and you can just see your guts and your legs. Like, do you know what I mean? Like that's, or like say like you're being attacked by like a great white shark in the water, and you're literally your last moments are like being eaten. Like you could die of shark. You just shock. Sorry, die of shark. You could die of shark. I mean shock. I mean both. You know, like
What about that one as well? That wasn't it some Prince or something you were talking about when he got his balls crushed to death?
Yeah.
That
He
must
died
have
of.
been some
I think
kind
he.
of
I think he
shock
died of shock from that.
Yeah.
But didn't he just like continuously have them crushed over and over again until? Yeah. Imagine that. I
Balls
mean,
are just crushed.
they're already like
to
crushed,
death.
and then you're just getting them crushed again. There's nothing even there to crush, but they just keep on doing it.
Oh no!
Like it.
I don't like it either.
Like it.
In a study that analysed 42 cases of penile fractures, the authors described the most dangerous position as woman on top. So be careful. Be careful.
Oh,
Cowgirl.
What could happen?
Be careful, cowgirls. Be careful. Be careful about about the stallion you're riding, ladies. So yeah, that's a bit of a nasty one, isn't it? Penile fractures. Oh, the idea that it's like a cracking sound when it happens, and then
Imagine if you got it from falling out of bed.
yeah. Thankfully, it doesn't happen very often, and if it is treated swiftly, usually if it's treated swiftly, you can you restore full function if it's allowed to heal. But it says basically, if this ever happens to you, do seek medical attention
straight
as
away.
soon as possible, because otherwise you could basically lose complete use of your penis after this. So goodbye sexy time, goodbye children. Most people with penises have very little control over exactly when they ejaculate. This is partly because it does not involve the brain. The signal to ejaculate comes from the spinal ejaculation generator. This region in the spinal cord coordinates its necessary functions. Of course, the brain does have some input into these matters. That is why thinking about something else is a well-known way of delaying the event of ejaculation. For instance, when you're enjoying your sexy time and you want to drag it out a little bit longer as to not completely embarrass oneself. But the nuts and bolts of the operation is dealt with the spine. Yeah. It's called the French tickler. It's called the French tickler. So if you tickle the right spot of your spine, you're like, oh! It's the French tickler. The angle of your dangle. This is the next one. A penile erection can point in virtually any direction. Straight forward, slightly down, slightly up, slightly to the left, slightly to the right, or variations of all of these degrees. The following data comes from a study that measured 1,484 different erections. In the figures, the penis pointed directly up. The measurement was described as 0 degrees, so just straight ahead. If it was forward pointing, horizontal, the measurement was 90 degrees. So out of all, so 1,484 erections were monitored. Between 4.9 participants had between 0 and 30 degree erections. Between 29.6% of participants had between 30 to 60 degree erections. 30.9%, the most common, had 60 to 85 degree erections. 9.9% of participants had 85 to 95 degree erections. 19.8% of participants had 95 to 120 degree erections. Whew. And 4.9% of participants had between 120 and 180 degrees.
Pointing straight up at you.
Yeah. So yes, it could really be, you know, so whatever you've got is like pretty normal.
So don't worry, you're still normal, whatever it's like.
Yeah, whatever it's like, it's normal. So if your chap is a bit skewed, don't worry. All right, it doesn't have to just be straight ahead or anything like that.
There is no normal.
There isn't no normal.
No.
You know, some of them can be like a banana, just curving upwards. You know, some of them can be like
a twister.
Yeah, some of them can be like a twister. Some of them can just be like a good old Cumberland. You know, a big old Cumberland. You know, it's just So those are our penile facts for this week.
That was Pandora's box. Does sex education.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I do find it them quite interesting. It's amazing actually the complexity of
most things.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, definitely. Just quite interesting.
You can kind of go deep with anything, can't you? Really, and it's just
no pun intended.
Cool. Hey.
No pun intended.
There actually wasn't either.
Yeah. So yeah, interesting, fascinating things, aren't they? The genitalias, and we should all be thankful that they exist, because without them, none of us would be here.
No.
I also read something once about the actual amount of things that need to happen in your body for, and you know, it's not just like blood rushing, like the hormones and the chemical reactions that have to go through your body for that to actually happen. It's like, it's a huge process. So like, you think it's like just this simple thing, but it's not. It's actually a massive chemical process in the brain and the body and everything to actually make it happen in the first place. So it's like a little mini miracle that even can happen.
What, get an erection or?
Yeah.
You get an erection, right. I wonder what specifically you're on about with the genitalia. No, definitely.
It's like a chain reaction of events that have to happen throughout the body.
Thank God for the penile centre of the spinal cord, and thank God for the cerebellum. Do you know what I was thinking as well? Because you know, it said that like a lot, it's like really, really common after hangings for people to have boners. I wonder if that's one of the reasons why, like, you know, people that are into like BDSM and stuff like to be like choked.
I was going to say that
earlier. What is autoerotic asphyxiation?
That's like
that's
like, you know, it's like,
is that when people like die from it?
You can, well, obviously if you're
fully asphyxiate, then but people do it.
Almost like get near to the point where you're almost like strangled and then let it go, and the idea that it like gives you like massive feelings of bliss linked to your sexual organs.
There is this. I've never been into it, but like, there's this like big relation between like pain and pleasure, isn't there? Like, where people that do explore that say that it's like insanely like pleasurable and stuff, but like. Yeah, I've never.
I think with me, there's like a line. Yeah, like I think to me, I sort of like draw the line at when you start getting like instruments involved. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to be like cattle prodded.
Instruments of torture.
Yeah. I don't want to be like cattle prodded or like whipped with like a leather whip or anything. But you know, but I don't mind like a little
stabbed.
Yeah, I don't want to be like stabbed or like or like randomly strangled or anything like that.
Like things put on your nipples like and twisted.
Yeah, but I don't mind a bit of rough. Do you know what I mean?
Bit of rough and tumble.
Yeah, a bit of rough and tumble, a bit of claws. You know, like, I don't mind like a bit of that. You know, but when you want to, you know, I'd find it like a little bit strange if suddenly, you know, you suddenly get out like a little box of like torture devices. I'd be like, what? What's going on there? You know,
weird, isn't it?
Bit out of my comfort zone.
Never floated my boat that much. Really.
Yeah, me neither. I'm
a nice, simple guy, I think.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, you don't need it, you know. It's unnecessary. Anyway, we're going to listen to a track now. This is The Ring of Gold, no pun intended, by Bathory. Stick around. We're going to wrap out the show after this track. We're going to finish off the show for you today with some horrible execution facts. So let's kick it off. After trying to assassinate the king, a man called Robert Francois Damiens was sentenced to be executed in a savagely horrible way. He got told that his skin was first going to be ripped off with pliers, then molten lead and sulphur was going to be poured onto his ripped skin, and then what was left of his disfigured body was going to be dismembered by 4 horses, 1 horse each attached to 1 limb, in different directions, and then the horses were going to be basically whipped until they ripped their arms and legs off. So imagine that. Not only are you going to have your skin ripped off by pliers, but then afterwards you're going to have molten sulphur and lead poured over your body. And then
that's what it'd sound like.
Yeah, it would sound a bit like that, yeah. Apparently, when Damiens was told that this was going to be the way he was going to die, he simply replied, well, this is going to be a tough day.
Oh my god, that's good.
There are several texts that recount the event. Apparently, the execution was carried out with extremely brutal precision and horror.
The person who did that or it came up with that, it's got to be so messed up.
I have to tell you, like, to be even so, to come up with that, and also to be the guy. Imagine being the guy that was like pulling the skin off with the pliers. I'd be like, I'm not doing this.
No,
I don't want to do this.
I bet
to somebody.
they found someone that was like real into it and was loving it.
I'd be like, look,
That's
like,
horrible.
even if the king was a really good bloke, right? I'd be like, look, yeah, you shouldn't have tried to kill the king, but let's just kill him then.
Yeah.
We don't need to do this. Just like go up behind him, just break his neck or something, you know? Just
there was definitely some like strange guy who was like, let's get the horses to pull his arms off.
It's just, you don't need to go to such weird lengths, do you?
I thought
you know?
hung, drawn and quartered was bad. That always seems savage as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely, man. There was a Scottish murderer called William Burke who, after killing his victims, would sell the corpses for profit to medical researchers. After he was hanged for his crimes, scientists dissected him, wrote books with his blood, and bound a book in his flesh to get their own back for his crimes.
Whoa.
Bit weird. Bit weird, isn't it?
That reminds me of the murderer who like put someone's food into kebab meat. They were like the owner of a kebab store and like murdered loads of people and then like made their meat into kebabs and then like sold it to people.
I think that's happened in a couple of stories a bit similar to that.
What's the guy Sweeney Todd?
Oh yeah, the
and
barber of
the
the Barber Street?
Yeah,
or something like that. The barber of something street. I don't know.
Yeah, it was either him or they made pies basically out of the
Sweeney Todd.
Yeah, that's
crazy.
nasty,
man.
Horrible.
Balthazar Gerard assassinated William of Orange in 1584. For his crimes, he was executed in an extremely savage and gruesome manner. He was eventually beheaded, but before he was beheaded, he had his hands burnt off, his feet crushed, was disemboweled alive, quartered, and had his heart ripped out and thrown at his face before. God. They made sure they did it with such accuracy that they threw his heart at his face just before he was beheaded, so that the last thing that he would see before he was beheaded, while he was like writhing in agony with his hands and his feet and everything else, it was just the last thing he saw was just his heart just like smacking him in the face. That is like so
damn, son.
That is
it's a bad way to go.
So brutal, isn't it? That is so brutal, man.
That's horrible.
Oh god, man, that is just so awful. So awful.
Chokey was bad in Matilda.
Yeah, man. This is this is pretty savage. After a failed coup against the Medici family, who were the rulers of Renaissance Florence in modern-day Italy, J. Pazzi was hanged for the conspiracy. His corpse was buried, but then dug up and thrown in a ditch. It was then dragged around and propped up on his front door. His head was then used as a door knocker, then thrown in a river and fished out by kids, who then hanged it and flogged it and then threw it back in the river. That's just a bit, just overly, just macabre, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just really weird. People do some weird stuff, don't they?
I know the one that always used to freak me out loads was the one about rats. Have you ever heard this? Like,
what, you'd be like killed by rats?
Well, they put like rats on your stomach and then like put a bowl over them, and because they like just dig whenever it's dark, they just like dig into you. And you,
really?
like, die
yeah.
I always remember thinking that one.
Oh yeah,
made me, feel real ill.
Yeah. That is a savage way, isn't it? They would literally
Mhm.
slowly rip their way into your flesh so that they wouldn't die. This is as like somebody that has a daughter. God knows what was going through this guy's head, because to me this seems like everything against your like programming. There was a ruler called Ibrahim II of Ifriqiya, who ordered the execution of every one of his daughters upon birth because he didn't want to have daughters. When he learned that up to 16 of his daughters had escaped and grown into adulthood, he tracked them all down and then, under false pretenses, invited them to dinner, first greeted them kindly, but then beheaded all of them at the dinner table. Like, what's your problem, man? Why don't like imagine you beheaded 16 of your own daughters? They were just going about their lives, you know. Didn't just let them live their life in peace, you know. So weird, man.
So strange.
This is almost like a bit of a weird comical one. St. Lawrence was executed in a giant grill. Apparently, his dying words while being burnt in the grill was screaming out, "I'm well done, turn me over." After that, the Catholic Church made him the patron saint of cooks, chefs, and comedians. That's so weird, isn't it? That is so weird. So weird. Yeah, so
Many ways to go.
yeah. We'll say one more and then we'll hit the road. The Americans botched the hanging of a Nazi field marshal called Wilhelm Keitel. The trap door that they tried to use to hang him was too small, and he smashed his head going down, and the force didn't break his neck, so it took a full 24 minutes for him to suffocate. They just watched as he slowly just struggled for that long. 24 minutes.
Damn, man.
I'll tell you one more, because this one is actually just a really good one. There was a Persian mystic and monk called Mansur al-Hallaj, who just kept repeating over and over again, "I am the truth," as his executioners slowly cut off his arms, his legs, his tongue, and finally his head. Apparently, even as his head was being cut off, he was smiling and still trying to just repeat the words, "I am the truth."
Oh my god, that's nightmare fuel.
Yeah,
That's horrible.
That's tense, isn't it?
he believed in himself.
Yeah, he did, didn't he? He was like, "Man, I am the truth."
Maybe he wasn't.
That reminds me.
Yeah.
I can't remember what film it was, but Elijah Wood plays this like crazy like little dude in the film, and he's always like this, and he looks really weird. And he gets his
Lord of the Rings.
he gets his like he gets like in the film he gets his arms cut off and his legs. It's pretty much like that in his head.
What?
And then in the film it just shows his head, and he's still just got this like this look.
No,
like this,
that's creepy,
Yeah,
isn't it?
that is weird.
Proper creepy.
Can't remember what film it is. Find it.
Man, yeah, we'll have to find out what movie that is.
That's
Anyway,
terrifying.
everybody, we've come to the end of another Pandora's Box. Thanks for chilling with us this week. We hope that you are having a good day, and we hope that you have a good week. We'll see you next time. Until then, take it easy, everybody.
Take a cheesy beans.